Good morning to the Boise State students and good afternoon to our Barry University representatives. My name is Erin Colburn. I'm the pre-health advising coordinator for the College of Health Science at Boise State University in Idaho. And we are thrilled to have some representatives from Barry University, including one of our own Boise State University alumni. I'm going to turn the time over to Denise and Dean and let her talk a little bit about the group that she's brought to the room today.
Thank you so much, Erin, and thank you for the opportunity to share our program and our story with your students. So my name is Denise Dean, and I am the director for the graduate admissions office at Barry University, of which occupational therapy is one of my programs. And with me today is Dr. Ivan Chan. Dr. Chan is the assistant program director for our OT program and a very, very good source of information. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Chan to share, a little bit with you and take it from there. Thank you.
And also we have Jessica. Jessica, why don't you introduce yourself?
So I'm Jessica Napoli, and I am a graduate of Boise State University. Go Broncos. And I am a mom of 4, and that kind of is what started my story for OT. So I did full-time, my full-time bachelor's degree for general health science. Well, it started out as general health science, but it turned to health science with an emphasis in gerontology. And then graduated in 2018 in May. I am a first-time college graduate for my family. And then I got in at Barry University, and we ended up moving to South Florida. So,
Yeah, and you don't have to move to South Florida, our program, right?
No, you don't.
Right.
My husband is actually from South Florida, so it gave us a chance to go and be with his family and kind of bring the kids along with my journey. So
that's good. Our program is actually a hybrid program. All OT programs in the United States are highly regulated. So all the programs have the same standard. And we are able to put out a very, I would say, unique curriculum that allowed working individuals stay working and yet, or taking care of their family, like Jessica is, and yet go to school. So the program is partly on campus and partly online. Let me see. We only have like 3 students here, and Shannon, Skylar, and Emma. Why don't you guys introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us a little bit about you, what you want to learn from this experience here.
So my name's Shannon. I'm actually an academic advisor
for
Boise State. So, but I love occupational therapy, and I'm excited to learn about this program so that I could tell our students about it.
That's great. Skylar?
Hi, everybody. My name is Skylar. I'm planning on going to grad school, hopefully in a year or 2. So I'm currently a junior at Boise State, and I'm majoring in psychology. But I recently found out about occupational therapy, and I currently job shadow as well. And so I've loved it. So I'm just hoping to kind of get more information about the different programs that are out there.
Oh, that's good. You're way ahead of the game. Awesome. How about Emma?
Hi, I'm a sophomore here at Boise State, second year. And so I'm just trying to also kind of learn about the different programs and possibilities I could do after this. And I've always wanted to do occupational therapy. My cousin is severely autistic, and his sister, who's also my cousin, went to USC, and she's now like a full registered occupational therapist and loves it. And so she recommended that I start kind of looking into it too, because we have a lot of similar interests. So kind of just seeing what's out there.
That's good. Let me give you a little overview of our program, and then we go from there, okay? Here you go. Our curriculum is face-to-face and distant learning, and your commitment will be face-to-face every other weekends. It can be face-to-face synchronously online or synchronously on campus. So approximately is every other weekend. And in between weekends, of course, you have to study, and the curriculum is highly regulated and structured. So we only meet every other weekend. So in between, it will be flexible for our students. Right, Jessica? It's pretty flexible, right?
Is I was able to homeschool my kids
Right.
while going, so.
Just to let you know, Jessica right now is in the fieldwork experience, the last one. So she's on the way out.
I'm almost done.
Right. So we have fieldwork. We have two types of fieldworks, level 1 and level 2 fieldwork. Jessica is in level 2 fieldwork, which is at the end of the curriculum. Level 1 fieldwork coincide with the first 3 semesters, and our curriculum is designed developmentally. So the first semester is going to be pediatrics, and then you learn about like conditions, pediatric conditions, pediatric assessments, interventions, and then you go for a level 1 fieldwork experience to observe and learn a little bit about occupational therapists in the pediatric settings. And then the second semester is going to be adult, and then the third semester is going to be older adult, and then the fourth semester is the advanced topics. So you have 1 week experience in the first semester, 1 week second semester, 1 week the third semester, and then at the end, very end, you will have the 2 full-time 24 weeks placement is level 2 fieldwork. You'll be working in the clinic. Jessica, tell us a little bit about your fieldwork experience. How about that?
So we kind of had to flip mine around. Typically, I guess pediatric is done as your last field work, but due to COVID, there was, as most people know in the health area, it's hard to find places that are still willing to be open to students. So we did find an adult that I will be starting in January for my last field work, but I got to do pediatric this time. Pediatric is kind of my heart. So as most people that know me know that I got into OT because my oldest son is on the spectrum. And I felt really helpless as a mom, not knowing how to help him. And so when we began OT for him, it changed how we functioned as an entire family. It gave me hope as a mom. It made me feel like I wasn't a bad mom. He wasn't a crazy kid. So pediatric it has a special place for my heart. There are so many different ways to do OT in pediatric. You're gonna find some clinics that are very specialized in sensory style of occupational therapy and pediatrics that way. The clinic that I was at was not able to do a ton of sensory related stuff, but they were aware of it and they implemented it where they could. We had a lot of kids that were developmentally or fine motor delayed at the clinic that I was at. And so that's where I got to spend my first fieldwork level at. And I was actually really lucky because it was the same CI instructor that I got to do my level 1 with as well for pediatrics. So we kind of just got to build that relationship. And then I was done. And I think that's the hardest part of the fieldwork is you make connections with these kids or these patients, and then you just kind of get up and leave. So I was really blessed to be a part of a great team at my fieldwork level. And they had PT, speech, and OT in one as a whole thing. So I got to really just see it work as what it really should look like for these kids who are struggling in so many different areas. And so I did cry on my last day.
Oh.
But it was phenomenal. And it just even brings back the importance of like why we're doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. And teamwork is the most important thing in healthcare. You know, we're not just OTs. when we're with the client, with the patient, we are a part of a team. Absolutely. As I said before, OT programs are highly regulated, and we are accredited. When you go and look for OT program, look for their accreditation status, very important, before you decide on which school you go to. Last time we get accredited was 7 years ago. We got a full accreditation for 7 years, and we always get the full accreditation. Some schools only get partial accreditation. Doesn't mean that those schools are not good. It means that they may receive some recommendation. So within 3 or 5 years, they may have to report to the accreditation body. So you can check the accreditation status when before you apply for schools. Oh, let me introduce you. In 2020, we received a grant from the Health Resources and Services Administration, HRSA. And that is a $3.2 million grant for students, for our OT students. And they asked us to disperse this $3.2 million in 5 years. So we are still, giving out money. So it won't be ending until like 2025. What it means is that HRSA wants to promote occupational therapy in rural areas, in areas that is underserved, or population that are underserved, and also wanted to foster occupational therapy in those students who may be themselves in the area of being underserved, right? So after the first year, after you get into the program director will host a webinar talking about HRSA application. It's not really an application. You just have to fill out like a very short, brief survey form, and then it will cover you about 80 to 90% of your tuition. So we are very fortunate to get that grant. So their mission requirement. Many people ask. Yes.
Before you continue,
Sure.
do you have to pay back anything from the grant when you graduate, or is it all?
No, it's a grant. You don't have to pay back anything. It's great.
Perfect.
Yeah. And the admission requirement, we have your official transcripts. We require GRE, but we do not look at like a minimum score, right? So if you don't do well on the GRE, you can say, well, I may be good at other things. So we look at the applicant holistically to see your strengths and weaknesses. So we do require a GRE. The higher score, of course, the better. But you don't have to like really, look at, am I passing or not passing kind of thing. 2 professional letter recommendations. When you go for observation, you may want to develop that relationship and ask your supervisor. Jessica, do you have any tips on getting the 2 professional letter recommendation?
I'd really recommend, and just you guys are in this early enough that you can really make some connections with some great healthcare providers when you're doing your observations. I was lucky enough to be able to build a relationship with the 2 OTs that allowed me to shadow them at St. Luke's Elks Rehab. And they were kind enough to do professional letters for me. But you guys have that option right now to really build that and really take what they're showing you, because I think no matter how much you try and how much you're in you still feel kind of nervous and feel like a little unprepared when you're doing your field work. And so anything that you can grasp from your observation hours just is going to be so much more helpful for letters of recommendation, as well as your field work that you're preparing to do.
Right. Yeah, and we require 40 hours, and an OT must sign it. You know, you cannot just go and say, and I observed like a PT and have the PT sign it. We don't know exactly what you observe. So the observation hour needs to be signed by an OT. And we need a statement of purpose. Now, this is very, very important. Jessica, do you have any tips for them?
Know why you're doing this. Why do you want to be an OT? Like, if you don't have that connection, for me, it was the story of my family and my son. I watched I had no ambition to ever really do college or any career. I was a stay-at-home mom and I loved it. And then when my son was diagnosed and we began OT, it was really helpful. And I met another mom whose son was older and had been undiagnosed, and she was having problems. And I shared my story with her, and she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, I wish I had met somebody like you 12 years ago. And that was it for me. I knew at that moment, I remember being that mom feeling hopeless, trying to figure out how to help a kid that you just don't understand. And that's my statement of purpose. Like, I want to help others feel like they have hope to like build families, give these kids opportunities and these families opportunities that they think they don't have. And so know why you're doing it, because that's going to be your statement of purpose. It's a lot of work, and I think I rewrote it like 4 different times, even with that same passion. But if you don't have that passion of why you want to do OT, then it's going to be a lot harder to put it together.
Yeah, remember, believe me, we have like about 300-400 applications every year, and we read every single one of them. It's just like sent us a letter. It's great seeing like how people are so passionate about occupational therapy, and then look forward to what they can do. They can contribute to the society, to their family. So it's good. You may require an interview, may or may not. We may call you for an interview. We may not, depending on how the whole application look like. Okay. It doesn't mean that if we call you for an interview, it's no good. It's just that we may want to get to know you a little bit better. These are the prerequisite classes that you have to take. So Skylar is first year and Emma is second year, and you still have plenty of time to work on these prerequisite courses, and you can actually wait until the end to do it. It's fine too. One thing you may want to take a look at is kinesiology. Kinesiology has a 5 years deadline, so you don't want to take it too early, right? Like, of course, like in the Skylar first year, you know that you're going to graduate in 3 or 4 years. That's fine. But if you take longer than that and you took kinesiology right from the first year, after you graduate, that may expire already. Okay, so kinesiology is very important. And Jessica, did you take the kinesiology with us, or you took it somewhere else?
I ended up taking it at Boise State. We found a kinesiology course that met the same requirements that you guys had.
Awesome.
For me personally, it was my last year. It was my last semester right before graduating. And the course that you guys were offering, you had to be in person for that course. And I wasn't going to be able to make that because I think I would have just been graduating. So I wasn't able to like come over at the time.
Right.
So we found one at Boise State to do.
That's good. Yeah. We take any courses that we know is equivalent to the requirements that we asked for. So when you apply, our admissions office will look at the kinesiology you have or you may not have, and then let you know. We offer kinesiology. Yes, sorry.
We also have a very vibrant kinesiology department, and they are very kind in their ability to be able to let our students who choose majors outside kinesiology get
Right.
to take some of those classes. So
Yes.
so we're able to locate a wide range of options that fulfill that requirement for your
Oh,
school.
that's awesome. Not all schools are like that. We heard a lot of applicants telling us that they couldn't get the kinesiology prerequisite fulfilled because their school doesn't offer it, or offer only to students in specific programs. So we decided to offer kinesiology the summer before the cohort starts for those individuals. But if you can take in Boise State, that will be awesome. Okay, this is our outcome. Oh, yeah, this is our outcome. Just to have you take a look. In 2020, the passing rate of the NBCOT was 100% on that year, which we're very proud of. But on average, it's about like 97, 98, about that. But 2020, we got 100%. 21, we don't know yet. Program graduation rate 95%. Doesn't mean that we kick out the 5%. It's just that things happen. People's life happen, and they may drop out, or they may life change. Event may happen, and they they can't continue anymore. Fieldwork completion successful is about 100%, 98 to 100%. Again, it's the same issue. It's not about people failing it. It's more about things may happen to that individual, may not be able to continue doing. So pretty much once you get into the program, you will be assigned with a clinical advisor. So you will have a person that you develop a relationship with and speak to and guide you through the process. So we do not really expect student to fail per se, because I would see it, if a student fail, it's not just the student, it's also the teacher, So we take pride of nurturing and fostering to our students. This is the tuition as of this year. We didn't have increase from last year to this year or the year before. So it's about $990 per credit. Total credit is 74 credits to graduate. Okay, and the other fees. And here's some information on the financial aid. And I can send Aaron this PowerPoint so you can share with whoever is interested in. Financial aid in graduate school comes in usually is loans, right, Denise? Yeah.
That's correct, Dr. Chan. Yes.
And now we have the URSA that helps a lot for students who may not be able to afford. Although we only meet every other weekend, we do have graduate housing available. Sometimes one or two students may choose to stay on campus. Although if you ask me my opinions, I don't see why you need to. But we do have graduate housing, limited number of graduate housing available. And then we do have a special hotel rate for those on-campus hours that you come on campus and you know in advance when you're going to come on campus, and we have like really good hotel rate. Miami is a hot spot, so hotels can be very expensive, but we have a contract with a couple of hotels give us really, really good rate. And then sometimes like local alumni may have room to rental for those individuals who may be interested in staying with them. So these are our program. You see, Dr. Linda Gonzalez is our program director, and then Lisa is our office manager, and she is on the ball. And whenever you call, she will call you back. If you leave her a message, she will call you back. If you have a question, she will find you answer. And then Denise, also very nice, and she's right here, Denise Dean, and she is the director of mission. She's in charge of all the healthcare programs. So do you have any questions? I think you should have questions, because you heard people talk about, like, why do I get a master in occupational therapy when I can get a doctorate? Have you heard of that? Yes? Okay, Jessica, why would you take do a master degree for OT instead of a doctorate degree? Just your take.
My take, well, I actually spoke with the OT that owned the therapy clinic that my son went to. They're in Eagle, Idaho. And I asked her, because I was actually wondering the same thing, because the doctorate programs were really starting to come big when I was getting ready to graduate. And her advice was, she felt personally that it was a good thing to have if you planned on teaching within a university doctorate setting or owning your own business. She said that outside of that, there really isn't a big, like, you have different specialty courses you take, but to actually do occupational therapy masters, you get the same training. So
yes, it's entry level. Years ago, AOTA was talking about moving the entry level from master to doctorate. So they were talking about it, and they said, eventually we want doctor level only entry. So people who cannot, you cannot get a master degree and want to be an OT anymore, right? They talk about it for years, and then the controversy, debate, and whatnot. And personally, I think having multiple entry points, like a master level and a doctorate level, is great, because it's, first of all, it's cheaper for you, for the student, and cheaper for the consumer as well. PT, we look at the market of PT, and we find that after PT become entry-level doctorate, they ask for more money, right? Now I can have more money. I have a doctorate degree, and there's no master degree out there. And then who's going to pay more? The hospital has to pay more. And who's going to pay more to the hospital? The patients. So the society, the demand from the society is greater when a degree move from bachelor to master to doctorate as an entry level. So last year, AOTA decided to just give away that thought for a long while. So they're not even going to talk about it for a few years, not even think about it. So as of now, and in a few years in the future, the entry level will remain master level. And even if they change, you get a master in OT, you can still practice, right? And your grandfather in. Now, I think I got my OTD about 8-9 years ago. At that time, I was working in a hospital, and I was the supervisor of OT department. And I got my doctorate. I was not asking for more money. And the manager saw that, oh, you got your degree now. We give you $1 more per hour. That's it. right? $1 more per hour, from a master to a doctor, right? So Jessica is right, and her friend is right that um, for the money, for the resources you put in, you don't get the reward back in terms of salary, getting a doctorate right from the get-go. Now, if you want to teach, if you want to open your business, you will get further training in the doctorate program. That way, you can always go practice first with your master, see what you're really, really interested in. And then you come back to school and get your doctorate. And we have a doctorate degree here at Barry as well. And we do a smooth transition for our students who decide, like at the end of their 2.5 years of the Master of OT, if they decide to wanted to continue, they don't want to wait, we would just move you right into the doctorate degree for another 2 years online and give you a OTD at the end. Okay, and then you can, in the meanwhile, you can still practice. So that's what we do for our alumni. And then if you really, really want to teach, you need to go back to school and get an education doctorate or like a PhD, because those two are research doctorate. The OTD is called practical doctorate. It's a terminal degree, but it's not focused on research and higher education. Okay, it doesn't mean that with the OTD you cannot teach. Many professors that are OTDs. Yep. Any other questions?
Is there anything that makes this program like significantly different than other programs? Like,
Can I answer that, Dr. Shen?
Of course.
I think I sat in Aaron's office for months trying to decide what schools would work. Initially, honestly, I was waiting for ISU to open up the Meridian campus. And I thought, oh, for sure it'll be done by the time I graduate. And it wasn't. I looked into a lot of great other schools that are out there as well. What made this different and is that it truly is a hybrid program. So you're not, just like any master's program that I'm learning about, is you have to be self-directed in your education, in learning. If you have taken any online courses through Boise State, you know kind of that, like, you are at the helm of like making sure you get your reading done, making sure you get those assignments done, and that's, you have that conversation with your teacher. This program is very much like that. You have everything set for you. You have your schedule set for you. You know in advance when you're going to be having classes, when you're not going to be having classes. It truly does. I honestly don't know how well I would have been able to do in an OT program that was face-to-face, because when you're doing that, they pick your schedule for you. You don't just get to decide, oh, I can't make it at a 10 o'clock class, so I'm going to do a 5 o'clock class. You are on their schedule and you're showing up, and that is really intense. And it was a lot more difficult for me to try and do something like that, especially given my lifestyle. And with Barry University, that it was a great in-between point. I got the education that I need, but I also was able to still be a part of my family, still raise my kids. Not that it was not difficult. I mean, I think any program that's a good program is going to be difficult because it challenges us, right? It challenges us to grow and to learn more about what we're saying we're going to do with our lives. But I did look into a lot of other quote unquote hybrid programs that are out there that you can find through the AOTA website. And when I called and contacted these different programs, they were a lot different than what Barry offers. So I would say that their biggest benefit that separates them from all the others is that it really is a hybrid program.
Yes, well said.
Anything else? Anybody have questions on?
Someone put in a chat. Let me see. Does it make any easier to be able to have a job on top of going to school? Yeah, the question is, since it's a hybrid program, does it make it easier to be able to have a job on top of going to school? Like Jessica is having a job and a half. She's homeschooling her kids. Yes, absolutely. It really depends on the student, depend on the job though. If you have a very desk demanding and job that you have to stare at the computer all day, then at the end of the day you may not want to continue reading on your computer. But if you have a little bit of physical work during the day, it's nothing to stop you doing more research on the computer, reading books and doing assignments. And if you have healthcare related job, it's even better.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of cohorts that worked full time, and in all types of fields, health fields, business management, all that kind of stuff. And they were able to do their schooling as well as hold their job and still earn funds for their families or themselves. So it is possible.
Good. Yes.
My question is from either Dr. Chan or Jessica. What's the worst thing about occupational therapy and what's the best thing about occupational therapy?
Well, I will say it can be really exhausting. You are emotionally and physically putting things into the clients that you're with. So it's not like a job where you can just sign off of the computer and go home. You kind of, depending on the field that you go in, what I love about OT is there's a job description in every aspect that you can think of. If you like sports, pediatrics, NICU, gerontology, I mean, and everything in between, inpatient, outpatient, that part is amazing. You literally, you hear so many people talk about how like there's nowhere for them to grow in their field of work. That's not the case with OT. Like you can get extended, you can do credits to specialize in things that allow you to kind of move around from different specialty to different specialty. And that's really awesome. But it's a lot of work. It's exhausting. You're emotionally pouring into these, especially like for me with pediatrics. I think part of that is also because I'm a mom. So you just want to like fix everything. But you see these kids come from backgrounds that is really hard to handle sometimes. And you're still pouring into them because you want them to be successful, but it's difficult. Sometimes you're getting spit on and sometimes they're sneezing in your face or, different things like that. I love babies, but I will tell you, babies is one of the hardest things in OT because it's more physical for you because you're using, that's part of therapy, OT, right? Is you're using your body as part of that therapy with them. And so like, especially with babies, you can't just be like, okay, go through this obstacle course and climb this wall. Like they don't know what you're doing and you're having to like maneuver them and use your body with that, exercise ball as you're trying to get them to right themselves in a certain plane or whatever. So, that is probably the hardest part is you become very emotionally attached to your patients, and depending on the field that you're in, it can be very exhausting and it can be sad. There's a lot of people who are in the skilled nursing facilities and they love those patients and they pour their hearts and souls into them, but some of them are, they're going to pass it. And
Right.
so you just have to be willing to put the emotions into the
Mhm.
job. And I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah, that's well said. Well said. Yeah, it's the therapeutic use of self part is very difficult, and you're encouraged to use yourself as a tool.
Mhm.
But then where you draw the line. Sometimes you it may not be a line there,
Mhm.
and it's hard.
Skylar, Emma, do you have any other questions? I have tons, so if you don't ask, I'm going to.
No, I don't have any questions that I can think of.
Okay.
Yeah, me either.
Okay. What's it like living in South Florida?
Hot, hot,
Yeah.
and hot, and humid.
We did get that cold snap, so we were like in the low
Oh.
70s for a while. So I will say your blood thins very quickly. I was able to wear a hoodie in like low 70s, so that was really great. But you have the beach. I think it was really trying to like sports for my kids. It took me a long time to remember like, oh, my son can play flag football in December and I better hurry and sign him up before it closes, because that's not the case back home. So there's a lot of it's a lot of fun. Like, and I have family over here. My in-laws all live over here while my family lives over in Idaho. So kind of have that bridge, but yeah.
Is there a lot to do?
Yes. Oh my goodness. There's so much to do. There's a lot of really cool things that Florida has to offer. I think what surprises people about Florida is how different kind of each part of the state is.
Mhm.
So like South Florida is probably I would compare it more to like the northern US. We get a lot of people from up in New York and New Jersey and like up in that area. So it's very like trendy and all that kind of stuff, where you have like Central Florida and Northern Florida, which is more like Southern, like in the Southern states. And so it's a lot of fun. Plus there's Disney World over here. Like it's 2.5 hours from me, and that's like my happy place. So, so we try and we have passes and we try and go whenever we can. We got a chance to go and visit the west coast of Florida this couple weekends ago to Tampa, and it was beautiful. And everything's within like, Florida's a really big state. So you have a lot of travel opportunity to kind of like go and visit all the different hot springs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a really long state. If you drive through from South Florida all the way, outside of Florida through Jacksonville, you have to drive about 7 to 8 hours to completely get out of the state. Out of state, you can pretty much drive 2, 3, 4 hours max.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. What advice would you give, Jessica, to the students in the room about pursuing occupational therapy as a career?
You have to have a passion for it.
Mm.
So, do as much. I know that it only requires 40 hours. I didn't get much more than that because I had to juggle with my kids. But do as many observation hours as you can, only because not for admissions, but for yourself. Like learn what's out there, because there's such a huge variety of OT. That the 2.5 years of your grad school goes by so quickly, and you're so busy trying to just absorb everything that you're learning, that all of a sudden like you're done and you're like, oh my gosh, what area do I want to practice in? You know what I mean? So take this time now to really learn about all the different things. I mean, from hand therapy and like, it's just mind-boggling. I really would love eventually to work, I think, in the NICU. It's a very difficult setting to get into, because you're dealing with such a fragile patient, that it's not something that students within the 2-year programs usually get a chance to partake in. And a lot of the people who work within the NICU setting, they've been in OT for a while, And then they've gotten extra credits for specializing within that area. So just really take this time while you can and get as much observation hours in the different fields and research it. For me, I didn't know much more past the pediatrics because of my personal situation. So when I got to go to Elks Rehab, that's a great setting because they have every type of thing. They do inpatient and outpatient all at the same place. And so you're doing rehab and neuro rehab and just all this kind of cool stuff. And so really take advantage of that. The other thing that I would really recommend is start the grad process early. Like Dr. Chan said, they get 300 to 400 applicants at least a year, and their max, they kind of push the envelope for my cohort. From what I understand, there's about 40 of us, but typically I believe 30 to 35 is the max. So they have to like weed out that many people from your application status. So the sooner you get that stuff together, the more you understand what you want to do, and the sooner you can get that application in. I was really thankful Erin helped push me into getting my stuff in before even close to the deadline, which is when I first thought about applying to schools. I was like, I had like 10 schools I wanted to apply to, but after completing like even just one of the process for grad, I was like, I'm done. I put all my eggs in one basket. I hope Barry accepts me because I am not doing this for like 10 more schools. So really look into that. The other thing that the OT who owns the clinic out in Eagle, Carrie, she told me is really look and see what universities, some universities are very hardcore into research, and you don't get a lot of like the more balanced like fields, so to speak, I guess. Like it's very research oriented. If you want to do research, then find a university that does that. I liked Barry because we did research and we had normal like classes that will help us for actual clinical settings. And so I don't have any desire to do research. So if I had picked a school that was very research oriented, it would have been really awful for me. So I think that that's important too, is try and find something that goes along with what you're really wanting.
When Jessica talks about early, folks, as soon as you can start filling out your application for the cycle that you want to apply for is July the year before. And I usually push all of our students to apply by Labor Day. Not all of us get there, do we, Jessica? But think about the fact that you're going to be taking the GRE and going to school. Think about the fact that you might need a personal statement written and that you might be going to school. And so if you can put all of your applications in early enough, that gives you more chances of getting interviews and getting opportunities. It also means that you can focus on your other stuff, getting you to the end of your career as an undergraduate. So we do provide you with lots of tools to do that. I know I read Jessica's personal statement quite a few times. I'm happy to do that. Shannon and I are happy to do that for you through that cycle process. So we're here to support you in those regards. And Jessica got the opportunity to do the Elks Rehab. That's a great opportunity. They haven't quite opened their doors because of COVID, but St. Alphonsus has opened their doors a little bit more, and they have their own rehab center. The Veterans Hospital is another great option. And Jessica, if I remember correctly, you did some in a school too, public school.
I did. Where my kids went to school at, I just went to the front desk and was like, hey, who's the OT at the school? Because I want to do some job shadowing. So yeah, you really just got to be like, put your foot forward and just be kind of nicely aggressive, I think is like the way I can say it, because you're going to hear the words OT saturated, like, and a lot throughout like everything, especially as you're starting to like get towards the end of your grad program. Like you hear other people talking about like, oh, the state is so OT saturated, whatever. You have got to be starting now, kind of selling yourself that like, I'm going to be the best out there. So I'm going to get every type of opportunity I can, and I'm going to make it work for me. I'm not going to let somebody else sit here and try and tell me like pave the path for me. Like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be like aggressive in a sort of way of like getting what I need to do to do what I want to do. Like, does that make sense? So I really just want to encourage you guys. I'm really, really thankful for the opportunity to talk with you guys. Anytime I see people that want to do OT, I'm just really super stoked about it because they changed my life personally. And it's a really great opportunity for you guys to do the same thing. And it doesn't have to be with kids. But I will say, if you work with kids, be ready to be the parent's therapist as well, because I think I used my OT as like my therapist coming and crying, like, I don't know what to do with him anymore. You know what I mean? So that psych degree is going to come in handy. But I really would like to say that I really am thankful for this opportunity to share with you guys. It's not an easy thing. It's stressful. And it's a lot of work. And when I say self-directed, like compared to what you're doing at the undergrad level, like kind of amp that up because it's a lot of information. You'll take a neurology class that will make you second guess yourself. But it's worth it. And when you finally get to that part where you're doing your field work, and you take everything that you've been learning textbook wise and putting it makes so much more sense. So don't feel bad about that. And you really do get excited, and you're like, okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because just like your undergrad, you're going to want to quit at some point, you know? So get support around you. I love Barry because I'm so thankful that it has allowed me to be a mom and homeschool my kids and still do what I feel like what I feel like I get to do as an adult. So you guys are way ahead of the time compared to me. So I'm really excited for you guys.
We'll be posting Jessica's alumni spotlight. So students, that's another way for you to get more information about OT as well. So we'll be posting that this week. And also be aware that Jessica has offered to her email address. You can email me and I can give you that information, and she's more than happy to talk to you at a later date. Just keep in mind you are 2 hours difference. But she is more than happy to communicate and share her experience. Is there any other questions? One last question to leave the room. I want to thank everybody that has participated and came from Barry. I know your time is valuable, but this is a hugely important part of what we do to help support students. So I thank you for coming and students participating as well. Does anybody have one last question? All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to stop.